Hey there. Sorry for the lack of quality video, but due to certain things, I'm not even on my normal channel. I'm over here. I do have a few questions. These are just questions. I'll be making just about zero assertions or I'm going to claim any kind of knowledge of anything here. A couple questions though that I think are important questions that people should ask themselves. That would be, I say it's, I think, I don't know. I don't know, but who does? Here's the questions. I see if we can get right through these. Who's here first off? Or should I wait a little longer? Because I don't know how many people will show up. I don't know how many people know that I do this over here quite yet. And if you are new here and you don't know who I am, now you know. I'm Zen. This is my backup channel, where I'll be doing much the same thing as I do on my other channel, except on a computer with a trashy microphone and not so great of a camera. And I'm making it a little more comfortable though. That's okay, that might work. Well, I can actually lean back here. This could be an upgrade. I could probably just get a new camera, get a plug-in or something. Here's a, excuse me, still burp guy in the building. Here's the questions. I'll start with an actual fact. It's very, very verifiable. This is the only factual statement that I'll make. There's a magazine called Popular Science. It's a fact. There was a magazine, and still is a magazine called Popular. Oh wait, the second one might not be. Is it Popular Mechanics? Popular Mechanics. There's a couple questions I pose. When is science not technology? When is technology not engineering? When does engineering science or mechanics? Can that be scientific? Now that's just a first kind of to get your mind stewing. I mean, if I were to look up, which one of these sciences is it? And at what point can you have a PhD? And what point could you get your doctorate? So there can be science in anything, right? Is it just an overarching term? Are those understudies of science? The sciences? Technology? Is technology a science? I guess I'm kind of giving away the idea here, but so technology isn't necessarily a science, but a science is technology. Is this true? Is that true? I don't know. I mean, do I know? I won't say I do, because I don't. Perhaps I do, though. And at what point do we find science? We'll just use the overarching term. At what point would you consider science to have found itself to be wrong? Because we know, if you were, say, to claim yourself to be a scientist, or even just a normal, average, everyday human, or a spiritual being, you'll find that you go through life and you find that what you see as scientific, seemingly verifiable truths, they show themselves to be completely wrong later. It happens all the time. So at what point would it be I'd say you're able to post something on any of these social media sites, right? They have these so-called fact checkers that, for the most part, are robots, which is fine. I'm good with robots, which are a form of a tool and a technology, and they can accomplish something. Okay, so you put a piece of scientific information that you could verify as being a fact from some scientific journal. But if I were to take that journal from 1980, and it is a scientific fact. I could look right at it and it's right there. But then it was disproven in 1996. Would that be, if I were to claim, if I were to make a claim to say that was the scientific truth right there, but then it got unverified? So then it's just that whole everything that someone said up to and after that doesn't count anymore. And what if that same claim that was made in 1980 that got disputed in 96, once again in 2008, the original claim became even more verifiable, that there were missing things in the methodology of going through doing science. At what point something that seems so scientifically valid and verifiable, let's do something like that we can all claim here. Well, we're not claim. Let's here's something that we can remember seeing in specific journals, that it was 4 to 5 doctors recommend smoking Marlboros or some sort of cigarette. Now, most people will go, today they'll go, what a dumb thing. That's silly. That can't be true. We already know that none of that's true. It gives people lung cancer. But see, now my stance on it would be, you're not taking this. Your starting point is 2 different things. You can't just dump the idea of what a cigarette and tobacco is into the same bin as saying when they came out with these ads, like 1950s, they were using straight tobacco leaf. I don't know exactly what kind, but I'm going to assume it was probably the scientists were doing it, probably using North Carolina, something from North Carolina, perhaps Nicotina rustica might be the easiest one, right? Probably not sprayed with chemicals. There was no plant, none of that was happening. So their claims at the time that tobacco was doing something quality for the health, I think you could make a very, very good argument that is and was and still is true. Here's where people get it all mixed up. Because let's say people started to recognize in the 80s, not a good thing. I'll use it in a Sarah Silverman joke. What happened to the white dog shit from the 70s? Go find some white dog shit. Dogs used to shit and it would turn white. What did they start doing? Why did the dog shit stop turning white and decaying the way it did? Could it be something to do with the chemicals they started putting in dog food and what dog food was? And the whole veterinarian thing and being in cahoots with the companies that are feeding these dogs? Okay, now tobacco. Now take these people that are saying smoking tobacco causes cancer. Well, they're half right. And well, here's how. Because once you start spraying that tobacco with a bunch of chemicals, those chemicals are almost certainly, and have been verified too, have caused many, many things to happen, tumors, cancer, things. Not a good idea. But if you use straight tobacco, it's been an ancient wisdom as far as I've studied. Now, this is unfair. You can't really, it's just because so-and-so said so, some stupid people from Machu Picchu in the 16th century. Silly. Well, they understood something like the 4 humors in the body. It's like a hot, cold, wet, and dry. And they would be able to affect change in the body just by altering those things. Simple way of looking at it. Does it work 100% across the board? No, because there are certain plant lives and substances that you shouldn't ingest that way. But for the most part, it's a pretty good standard practice for things. If someone comes to your house and they're freezing cold and wet, you'd say, here, take some dry clothes and sit next to a fire. It makes sense, right? Makes sense internally and externally. So the claim that tobacco causes cancer in 1950 probably was pretty verifiable that it didn't. And this is why doctors would recommend it, because they seen that they did tests, and this is, look, it's been used there. Why were the Native Americans using it? Were they so dumb that they were just smoking tobacco and getting skin and lung cancer, even though they weren't using sunscreen and they were smoking tobacco that wasn't sprayed with chemicals? So these stupid Native Americans and these stupid long-lived cultures throughout the world, they had no idea what they're doing. I mean, you can get into even the father of modern medicine. I mean, wherever you want to go with this, you can use anybody you want. Getting back to this thing about science, at what point is science become 100% validated or invalidated, for that matter? When do these things happen? Let's do something that's current right now, and I wouldn't say how current it is, because I don't know the last claim that was made on popular. How can science be popular? It does seem to be like, if more people believe in it, so it's true. That's not how science works. It's got to be as close to. We can't really ever do perfect science. There's too many variables. There's too many variables to go into studies and things. We can get closer if so much money wasn't involved, but let's just say we could get pretty close. It would have nothing to do with popularity. It would be like just what it is. Here it is. It's provable. So how can you have pop science? I can understand popular engineering, just because something is popularized. Look, if you were an engineer, and it was popular to make a really complicated thing that doesn't work and falls apart, but that was popular. Does it make it good? What happened to good science? What happened to good engineering? What happened to good technology? I'm not saying they don't exist, because they do. But they claim popular mechanics, popular science, popular engineering, just because the majority of people believe it doesn't make it so. So let's continue on with this. What's popular? If you were to turn your television or any social media source on, or talk to somebody in public, they'll probably say some guy's name that's a doctor. You'd first have to ask, what is he a doctor of? What are his credentials? I mean, I wouldn't, but I mean, I assume most people would. Has he got any vested money interests in what he's saying here? Ooh, because that might influence the way somebody says something. So one time, this person said, wearing a mask is stupid. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. I mean, I don't know. I'm giving a roundabout way if I'm saying it's not even, doesn't make any sense. And then he went on to say, oh, you should always wear one whilst not doing that. But you can, if you're eating or unless there's this many, and there's all these different, I don't know what the science was behind any of this, but then all of a sudden, well, if one makes sense, then two makes sense. It makes more sense. So how many? You just put like hundreds and hundreds of masks on? I mean, whatever. But is that what's popular? Is that what's really popping off? So there must be some way of, and I think I learned this maybe from a few books that I've read, that you're looking for quality or goodness in something, not whether it's popular or not. Would you want? I mean, watch the movie, Make the Simple movie, Black Sheep. All right, and then he says, take a dump in a box. I can take a dump in a box, a market guaranteed, or I can just sell you a good product. I mean, that's the world we live in. Here, this is a great product. Check it out. It's so shiny. Look at the brand. It says so. It's the best. Look at that. Even they said so. Don't they know something? They're awesome. You like them, don't you? You like them. They care about you. So do we. Use our product. Buy our product. How do we? At what point can people just use the brain just for a second and consider what seems reasonable here? What is the reasonable? Does this seem good? Does this seem like it's quality, or is it popularized? How many things have you been in? interacted with or involved with it, as you considered it, you go, this is kind of stupid. Like, consider growing up and listening to pop music and how looking you go, that was really a couple good songs, but all in all, woo, that stuff is. Do we all do it? Sure. Didn't know any better. But don't you think we've advanced as a species? Perhaps. I would like to think so, but hey, again, what do I know? Just asking a couple questions here about when is science technology, and technology becomes, I don't know, there's this, when is a doctor science, okay, scientific, okay, starting to get engineering, can you doctor, what a doctor of music? Interesting, because most people would say scientists and doctors are into healing. They would make this assumption. That would seem to be the right assumption. He's a doctor of music. People that are involved in the physical realm of medicine, little white pills, and they would be like, "Oh, medicine is not a healing thing," even though there has been so many studies done on the power and the healing power of sound, color therapy, name it. Plants. Like, the plant's gonna heal me. Oh, oils. You're gonna smell an oil. It's gonna make you better. I need the pill's gonna do all the job. Couldn't really, but they're both sciences. They're both, you can get a doctorate in either one. So if I was a doctorate of music theory, couldn't I apply that same theory to, as a tool, a theory of how a perfect fifth and you know, the diminished chord of the, and all of these, couldn't I apply that to how color works, how medicine in other realms works, into how engineering might work of physical objects such as a train? I don't know. Or when is it good, not popular? When is it something of quality? Because again, I must remind people, if a 5-year-old builds something and says, I've engineered something, they certainly have. If it's a big long thing with the stuff and this and that, and it just, you're like, when it just falls apart, you're like, that would be a popular thing to do. Everybody's doing that. Like, everybody just do that. It's popular now, but it has no foundation, no integrity. It's no structure, structurally not sound. But that's what we do. Pretty much the world, as it appears, for the most part, is pretty much that way with most things that they believe in right now. So back to this example of, let's say coffee. Coffee, good or bad for you? How many times have we been out of this one? Eggs, good or bad? Coffee, a lot of people don't like coffee. I mean, they love coffee, but they make all of the assessment to the sciences says it's bad now. Not the coffee bean. Sure, it's not the chemicals they spray on it. No one's noticing the common theme here. I'm not saying, see, this is drugs versus plants. Plants, drugs. Is everything a chemical? If everything's a chemical, I think people are being, sometimes you get in these conversations with people and they're being too, they're playing a semantics game. Someone clearly knows when I say a chemical what I mean. Versus if I were to take a plant from nature and get the oil out of it, there's chemical constructs in there, but they're organic from a chemistry standpoint, as far as I know, because of a bond that happens with the carbon. That this is what I don't know this is true, it could be. But what I'm saying is if I took a natural something, I could extract what you'd call a chemical. But the chemicals that we're talking about spraying onto beans don't seem to come from a natural source. And there seems to be quite poisonous, that if you were to ingest them, say like if you were to ingest fluoride, it's pretty well known that to transport fluoride, the LD50 on it is really low, meaning it doesn't take much. You have to have special containers. You can't touch it without multiple layers of gloves, and it eats away. It'll corrode things. But it's safe to put in the water and in toothpaste, even though it says right on the toothpaste. This you can look up. You can go grab the toothpaste. It says there's fluoride in it, and it'll say do not swallow. So if you're not supposed to swallow that, why are you supposed to swallow the water that's coming out your sink, out your faucet? So when I say chemical, the chemicals that we're talking about spraying on coffee beans. So is coffee good for people? Certainly. It's healthy to have every day? Maybe. How about wine? Wine's been around quite a long time. Ancient Egyptian gods and things. But check it out. Here's what I'll do. I'll start another show in a little bit. I'll continue these ideas on for people. Thanks for showing up. But I just wanted to keep these streams short. But I'm going to be back on here in maybe like 15 minutes. Just going to go make myself some eggs to go with my coffee. And I'll be back on here. Good to see everybody. Talk to you soon. Stay well. Oh, yeah. And subscribe, like, and let people know that I'm doing things over here now. Just for a little while. For a week or two. Probably like a week. Until the other channel is up and running again. So, yes. And I am Zen, the Atman, not the Alchemist. Well, either one. Whatever. Holler at me. Talk to you soon. Bye.